Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode number 38 of Geeks Who Like Sports. And this is 2020. Yes, it is our first. It is our.
You stole my line.
Yes, it is our first.
That's what you get, Ray.
No,
that's what you get for stealing my line.
It's our first show of the new year. Both Lee and I are a bit under the weather. That's part of the reason why this episode's coming out a little later than normal. So, of course, I even mess up the intro. I start hacking and wheezing.
It's that type of show today.
Yes, it's gonna be a good show. We will get through our respective illnesses here. I know we were talking about this before the show actually started. It's just that kind of that year. But yes, before we get started, I'm Ray Carcillo, as always, in Los Angeles, doing my best buddy across the country in Philadelphia, Lee Elias. Lee, I kind of spoiled it. We're both a little under the weather today, but how are you doing?
I'm Lee Elias, and this is 2020. I've always wanted to do that like Barbara Walters did. Yeah. That was my and now I'm back to my bass voice. I'm good, Ray. It's foggy here in Philadelphia today. Interesting start to the winter with these 50-degree days. And then it'll snow the next day and then be back to 50. But it's rainy and horrible today outside. But inside, I'm very happy because I'm here with you talking Geeks Who Like Sports, which is really the highlight of my week most weeks. I'm not going to lie to you. So quick thing, because the holidays just passed. My brother, Alan, whom I love very much, got me 2 geek gifts. Among many others. So my son Logan got a TIE Fighter, a Millennium Falcon, and a bunch of Star Wars action figures, which are secretly probably for me, but people don't need to know that. I also got a Stiga table hockey game, which is much more fun and competitive. But Alan, my brother, got me 2 Back to the Future cars. For those of you watching, you can see. The first one is, I didn't even know they made this. This is Biff's Ford Super Deluxe from Back to the Future 1, covered in manure. It's a real car. It's a real toy you can buy, completely covered in manure. I'm just going to spare us from using the SHIT word today, although I'll probably say it later. But amazing. You caused $400 damage to my car, a-hole, right? And then the other one is the 1955, or as I said before, this really should be called the 1855 DeLorean, but it's the 1955 DeLorean with the white round tires and Mr. Fusion and whatever they did to the engine in the front. But, that's my brother for you. He knows I love Back to the Future. It is, although I am always a Star Wars guy, Back to the Future is my favorite film. I always tell people that. I don't know. I honestly don't know if there's been a more perfect film made for fun. There's been a lot of fun movies. You can debate me that if you want at home or Ray, but I think that is maybe the most complete fun movie I've ever seen. That's probably why it's never been remade. And don't get me wrong, Ghostbusters is great too. Back to the Future has the complete package. In fact, Back to the Future, I'm getting off a tangent here, but Back to the Future and Ghostbusters have a lot of similarities. They both have the car, right? The Ecto-1 versus the DeLorean. Car, yeah. They have great characters. There's a lot of humor. It's fun. There's a story, but there's also conflict. There's a love interest. I mean, it's just very good classic storytelling, except they've decided not to remake Back to the Future, thank God.
Yes.
Yeah, and hopefully Ghostbusters will be redeemed soon. But Ray, I'm great. Thanks for asking.
Yeah, for me, my film is probably Who Framed Roger Rabbit in terms of that favorite.
That's
fun
really
film.
Good. That is a really good movie.
Yeah.
I mean, I used to get scared at the end, but when I was a little kid.
Yeah, when I was real little,
it's scary. Yeah.
But at the same time, it's also what made it so good because it was like the good guys still won at the end, right? Like they killed Judge Doom and they melted him and all that other stuff. So
I was gonna say they'd never make that movie today just because animation's changed.
No.
So
animation and so many of the rights, people are so. I don't think Disney and Warner Brothers would work together now like they did back in the late 80s.
No, probably not. I mean, and not that they would ever remake that movie. It is a classic. Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Back to the Future. You and I are just 80s kids. It's just the way. Yeah. Just the way it is. Ghostbusters. I mean, they're all up there. And Star Wars, too. But we'll get to Star Wars later in the show today. We'll be talking Mandalorian as a complete season. We'll be talking Witcher. A lot of amazing geek content on television right now. Maybe get into a little bit of gaming and stuff, too. But we wanted to lead this week with sports because there's actually some interesting topics to talk about. Obviously, in a minute, we're going to get into the NFL playoffs, but I wanted to start this episode talking about the NHL Winter Classic, which just passed this past Wednesday. On January 1st, the Nashville Predators visited the Dallas Stars in the first outdoor hockey game, official hockey game in the South, which was a really big deal for the NHL and a really big deal for hockey south of the Mason-Dixon line, something that's been very criticized heavily over the last 20 years since it really began.
Yes, much maligned.
So, long story short, it was a complete success. Both the teams did the game proud. The Winter Classic did the game proud. Second most attended game in the history of the NHL with, I think, just over 80,000 fans.
Yes.
Number one will never be beat because it was at the Big House in Michigan. Which just has 100,000 plus seats.
It's
so
just the capacity, but it was a sellout crowd.
It was a sellout crowd in Dallas, and the big deal with that is that people go, oh yeah, well there's that many seats. Well, people didn't have to show up. I mean, this was a risk by the NHL to do this. I mean, if that stadium was even just 3/4 full, it's a problem.
Yes.
But they filled it. The crowd was a capacity crowd. It was unbelievable. The game was excellent, and it was like a playoff atmosphere watching the game. I mean, they did not go light on each other. I mean, there was a suspension right in the first 5 minutes on Corey Perry.
Corey Perry with the walk of shame, which is now a meme all across the internet.
Hopefully that won't be the only thing that happens for him from his entire career. But, I mean, these two teams were going at it, and it was a great game. Nashville went up 2-0. Then it was 2-1 at the end of the second, and then Dallas came all the way back and won the game. It was a great showing for the NHL, and the reason why I bring it up is because Winter Classics are not a new thing anymore. I mean, it's been over 10 years now. I think this is the 11th year, I think. This one kind of respawned it for me. I remember watching the first one of Pittsburgh at Buffalo and Sidney Crosby winning it in a shootout in the snow, and it was amazing. Yeah. I remember I was at the Flyers one where the Rangers came to Philadelphia, which the Rangers won. It was a great game, even though we lost. I was at a Stadium Series game last year. So first note for everybody there: if you ever get a chance to go to one of these games, even if you're not really a hockey fan, you should try and do it because it's unbelievable.
Totally worth it.
Yeah, Ray and I were together at that Philly Ranger one too. Mm-hmm. It's surreal. It's an experience. It is not something you see every day, and it's a lot of fun. Yeah. And it can be freaking cold, so just be ready for that too. Probably not in Dallas, but watching them every year on the TV, that's kind of lost a little bit of its luster. And this one kind of has redeemed the game for me a little bit. The Winter Classic game, I was really happy with it. I thought it was really cool. They announced that the next Winter Classic will be in Minnesota, which is long overdue. Minnesota, the state of hockey, 10,000 lakes. I mean, they've deserved this since the first one, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But it adds a new element to the Winter Classic. I think you'll start seeing some more of these games. Probably 1 out of every 4 now will probably be in the South.
And start moving it around more properly. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought this game really set a bar for Southern hockey. Finally, of like, look, they're not joking around down there. And I've been saying this again. For those of you who follow, some of you know I have another hockey channel called We Live Hockey, and we are very big proponents of hockey in the South because these fan bases are diehard for their teams. And it might surprise some of you out there, but there is a lot of hatred from kind of the more traditional markets towards these Southern teams for the cliche things like they don't get the game, they haven't had the game forever, and it's ridiculous. I mean, it's starting from first off, the Washington Capitals are a Southern team. People don't realize that. At least if we're talking geographically, Washington D.C. is below the Mason-Dixon line, so that's the first Southern team. They just won a cup. Now, if that's too much for you, you go down to Carolina and to Raleigh with the Hurricanes. Those fans are unbelievable. And I give that team and that organization credit for really rejuvenating that with their storm surges, which some people think is ridiculous. But that team has really redeemed themselves, and they're also becoming one of the best teams of the decade actually now because they've really come back around, right? And then look, Dallas is good, Nashville is good. We won't talk about the
Panthers. Dallas has a great history. Dallas has won a cup before.
They a cup in '99.
Yeah,
it goes on. Yeah, and Vegas is unbelievable. I mean, again, when you go out west, I would say when you go out west, it's a little bit less of the South.
It's a little bit of a different monster out here. Yeah, I think Vegas falls into the same branch as Anaheim and the Kings and even San Jose.
It's like Texas to the Atlantic, right?
Right.
But Tampa Bay has an amazing franchise. I mean,
Like, even Florida's turned things around in the past couple of years and become competitive again.
Look, Miami is always a tough sports city. I'm sorry, it's Fort Lauderdale, but that area has always been tough for every team. So it's like people point at the Panthers, but I'm like, look, you can point to the Dolphins too if you want to do that. The Marlins. I mean, the thing is, a tough market.
I think a part of the reason why a lot of folks poo-poo on hockey in the South is because Atlanta's had 2 franchises that have had to move.
Yeah.
And maybe Atlanta isn't a hockey city. Obviously, baseball and football will probably always be king down there. And basketball, too, of course, with the Hawks. But I think that just because that one city hasn't been able to hold on to a hockey franchise. And to be fair, they've gone to places. They've both moved to Canada, which is where obviously more Canadian teams is always a good thing, I think, for hockey as well. So I think that just because Atlanta hasn't been able to maintain a franchise and maintain a fan base. Again, you look at Nashville, who was in the Cup a couple of years ago. You mentioned Carolina, Dallas. A lot of these places have strong fan bases, and hockey is thriving in these markets.
It is. It really is. And the thing is the fans are great. And like I said, we've had run-ins with fans from all these teams. And it's particularly Nashville coming to my mind right now. They're some of the greatest fans and people that I've encountered in the game. I remember we were at the NHL Awards last year, and I was kind of starstruck by this. Let's reverse starstruck, I guess. But sitting in front of me were two Preds fans, and they turned around like, "Oh my God, you're Lee from We Live Hockey!" I was shocked, completely shocked that they knew me. Just the nicest people in the world, and we still stay in touch because of that moment.
Yeah.
But like they knew who we were, and they thanked us because we are really. Pro hockey anywhere. It doesn't matter. It doesn't even have to be in the South. And really just anti anybody's like, oh, it doesn't belong there. I never understood. Like, enough people hate hockey already. We don't need infighting in hockey. All right. So I don't want to stay on this tangent too long, but it was a really proud moment for hockey, for me as a hockey person. It was well done. They really, really, really showed the world that, like, look, hockey in the South is not new anymore. We are real. We believe in this. And I love that they have that second all-time attendance record now.
Yes.
Which will probably not be broken for a long time because keep in mind too, this was not at Dallas Stadium where the Cowboys play. We'll talk about the Cowboys in a few minutes because we have to. But I mean, I forgot what field this was. I was at the Cotton Bowl. It was at the Cotton Bowl.
Bowl, yes, yeah.
The historic Cotton Bowl. So just really, really great stuff from the Winter Classic. So speaking of Dallas, Ray, they didn't make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Okay, they didn't make the playoffs. I mean, to be fair to Dallas fans, all right, they have been mostly quiet. Okay.
Yes.
Like I think Dallas fans kind of knew this when they were 3-0. One of our very good friends, Ray Santiago, who's a massive Dallas fan, even when they were up 3-0, he's like, we haven't played anybody yet. And like, it's nice, but it's like, this is, what's funny is that with the Eagles, so the Eagles obviously won the NFC East, and we're going to go into the playoffs now. They'll be playing the Seahawks on Sunday at 4:30, a game they will lose, most likely. Although, I'm going to say they're going to lose because most of our picks on this show are wrong. So
that's also true.
All right. So, but no, it was an interesting season in the NFC East, as we call it. But when the Eagles lost to Miami, I remember thinking, this we're just not good enough. And then Carson Wentz came back and did prove me right because I did say he was not the problem many, many times. But they got this team of misfits now. We have no starting receivers. I mean, they have practice squad players out there. Like, it's not a joke that we don't. We have no starting receivers, no starting running backs, and we're somehow in the playoffs. I give that team a lot of credit. Again, I think the story ends here because if they do win this weekend, now you're starting to get into that team of destiny and miracle thing. And then I remind Eagles fan that our road to the Super Bowl is probably Seahawks, Niners, most likely Saints. I mean, if you get to the Super Bowl from those three teams, maybe you deserve to win the Super Bowl.
Here's the thing, though. People who say after one win that you're a team of destiny, I think that's a bit much. There's a lot of teams.
It is a bit much.
There's a lot of bad teams, not bad teams, but there's a lot of mediocre teams who end up making the playoffs over the years. You can steal a playoff game.
Yes, that's okay. So the first one is luck. If they beat the Niners, then it becomes a destiny.
Exactly. Then you start talking about, wow, maybe this team is got something here.
Yeah.
But and then they have to start taking them seriously. But I mean, I think since you mentioned, I'm thinking this is going to be a closer game than a lot of people think because the Seahawks are extremely banged up as well. Yeah. Right? They've had to sign Marshawn Lynch out of retirement at running back because they're so depleted there. They as well have had many injuries on defense. I also believe one of their starting linebackers tore his ACL in the Niners game, so he's done. So I mean, you've had a lot of people. This is going to be an interesting game because I think it's going to come down to the quarterbacks. And when you kind of look at the quarterbacks, as good as Wentz is, Russell Wilson is a premier talent. And if he has even a good game, not even a great game, just a good game, I think the Seahawks win this one. And I'm calling it right now: Seahawks 17, Eagles 10 in a defensive battle, a low-scoring game. But I think that Yeah, I think this is going to be a closer game than people think. You also have to remember, when we talked about this yesterday, the X factor of playing in Philadelphia, Seattle having to go across the country. The Eagles, obviously, that home crowd, if they get into it early, if you get an early touchdown or a defensive play, a strip sack, something tough. Like that, it's going to be very, very tough for the Seattle to get all that, to bounce back from that. But to be fair, also, Seattle, surprisingly, better on the road this year than at home. They have a better road record, so that'll be interesting to see what breaks there.
The other X factor for Philadelphia is that it's probably very hard to scout us right now, just because we have so many new players that, I mean, some of these guys have only played 2-3 games. So, like, we'll see what happens. I'm being realistic about this. I'm not hopeful for the Eagles this weekend. If they win, I'll be very happy. But, like again, we'll see what happens. I do want to give a shout-out to Carson Wentz, though, throwing 4,000 yards. First Eagle quarterback in history to do that with really nothing to throw to. It's incredible. That's an incredible stat. And again, people in Philadelphia have been very critical of Wentz this year, and I just think it's unwarranted. He has not played every game perfectly. He has not been his best every game, but he is a great quarterback. He is our franchise quarterback, and he was not the problem this year. It is cruel from the football gods that, every time he gets hurt and Nick Foles would come in, we'd miraculously go deep, and now he's healthy and our entire team is hurt. Yeah. It's a little kind of cruel twist of fate there, but look, they found a way to get in. Congratulations to them. Cowboys, I mean, you had every opportunity to win that division. That's all I'm going to say.
The Cowboys on paper are a better team.
Should have won,
at every position, possibly, except for maybe quarterback.
That's a shot at Dak. Boom. Pat.
And the thing is Dak isn't even that bad. I'm not even saying Dak is bad. No. I'm just saying that probably if I had to pick one, I'd probably pick Wentz over Dak. But
I would right now. Yeah, I would.
Right now for sure. But I think that at every other position, though, the Cowboys are a better team, and they underperformed. They didn't make plays when they had to. They didn't beat anybody. They had the second biggest point differential in NFL history for a team that went 8-8 or worse.
Yeah,
like literally, they scored more than 110 points more than they gave up. And yet they went 8-8 because in a lot of games they lost close games to good teams.
Yeah, here's another thing too about the NFL. This just shows you, and this is one of the things I actually like about the NFL, and it's a little different than baseball or hockey or basketball where there's 82 plus games in those sports, right? Like you only get the games you get here, so momentum and peaking at the right time are incredibly important.
Yes.
In this league, all right? And so Cowboys peaked early. They did. I mean, like they went 3-0. That's pretty good. They killed the Eagles earlier in the season, right? And then the script flipped, and the Eagles got momentum at they won 4 in a row at the end of the season. Like that's a thing in the NFL. Like in baseball, man, you get hot, you get cold, you get hot, you get cold. I mean, losing streaks happen all the time in baseball.
It's very hard in baseball to get hot. The Nationals this year got hot at the right time.
Right,
obviously.
It's all about momentum. Look at the Blues in hockey last year. They were the worst. Yes. Today, last year, the Blues were the worst team in the league,
and they won.
They won the Stanley Cup.
That will not happen again this year, by the way.
No, it's never happened before.
The Senators will not win the Cup.
Yeah, no, it sends
or the Red Wings
or the Devils or the Wings.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
But that was an amazing sports story that I think a lot of people missed. But football does not work that way. You cannot be the worst at the halfway point usually and come back. Right. If you're 0-8, you're probably not making the playoffs, right? Yeah. So a lot of people know me. I am a hockey person, but I love being a football fan, and like that's a side of me people don't usually see. Now I'm not the guy screaming at my TV usually unless we get a touchdown. Like I usually sit pretty quietly. That's just the coach in me kind of watching. Like Ray will remember this in the 2018 Super Bowl. There's the Eagles Super Bowl, the one the Eagles won. We were up, and I remember that we scored a touchdown like with 2 minutes left, and the people were jumping, and I'm just sitting on the couch, and people are like, why aren't you excited? I was like, because Tom Brady has the ball and time.
Yes.
And I've seen this happen so many times, and then when we won, I broke a door or something. I blacked out.
I know we all jumped. I was there actually, and like. I think it took a second for realization to wash over you when it happened, and then me and Travis jumped on you.
Listen. I'll tell you this right now. The greatest moment of my life was, number 1 is my children being born. All right, number 2 is being married, but like number 3, 4, 5. I mean, it's all like the championships I've won as a player, but like the Phillies and the Eagles are right up there. I mean, You know, I tell people this: if you want to know what it's like to have a kid and you don't have a kid, it's like winning the Super Bowl times 100, right? So, but like that gives you an idea. Like it's the same feeling, right? It's the same feeling. You know, until you don't sleep for 2 years, then you don't feel like that anymore. But let's go backwards here. So the final NFL wildcard game is the Eagles and the Seahawks. Ray and I are both picking the Seahawks to win that one.
Yes.
It guaranteed a bird of some sort will win that game.
Yes.
Moving back to Sunday, 105, we have the Vikings and Saints. I'm picking the Saints to win that one just because they are super pissed off. I would be surprised if they do not go to the Super Bowl this year. I mean,
I agree. Like, I think that, like, looking at it in terms of experience, in terms of the edge, I mean, there is very much a realistic scenario where I could see, and listen to me, because also, by the way, so we're recording here on January 3rd. We're not going to be recording again until January 13th because I have this thing called jury duty. And unfortunately, unfortunately, I will not be able to around next week because of that. So we'll actually have the second weekend worth of games. So with the Seahawks winning and the Saints, I think the Saints are going to kill the Vikings. So speaking of momentum, the Vikings have no momentum going into the playoffs. They're playing their worst football at the worst time. Not even counting last week where they sat everybody against the Bears. The week prior with the division on the line against the Packers, they did not. Their defense showed up, at least in the first half. But then the offense just did not show up at all. Kirk Cousins does not know how to win a big game. If you put national television on those television games, that's all you have to do. Anybody who plays the Vikings next year, just put like the ESPN logo on the cameras or whatever, and just pretend it's the game of the week. And Kirk Cousins will absolutely crap the bed.
Well,
like, it's just the way he is.
Here's the X factor in that game. All the pressure's on New Orleans, but this is what I will say: Drew Brees handles that fine. The Saints will be fine. I want to move through these. So Ray and Seahawks, Saints. That's the NFC wild card.
But I just want to say,
winners.
I can very much see the Seahawks after beating the Eagles going to San Francisco, and with their experience, having played San Francisco, they split the two games this year. Both games were by one possession. I could see the Seahawks knocking off the Niners. And then the Saints beating the Packers.
You are jumping ahead. Ahead.
But then I'm saying that the Seahawks could then have to go to New Orleans, and I think that's how New Orleans gets to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, we'll see. Obviously, we talked about the Niners before. They have zero playoff experience. We'll see how that plays into everything. Like it's either an asset or it's a hindrance. It's not an ever in between.
Giving you a little bonus coverage because we won't be on before the second week worth of football.
Oh, I see what you did there. Yeah. Okay, that's fair. I'll give you that. That's fair. Yeah. So Seahawks and Saints, we have them projected to move on. Saints will play Green Bay. Seahawks will play the Niners. And then we'll. I mean, do you want to pick your winners real quick in that? You said real quick.
I think I'm going to call. If I'm going to call right now the upset, I'm going to say Seahawks, and I'm going to say Saints will be. I'm going to say both road teams win the divisional round of the playoffs in the NFC. Both the Saints and Seahawks will not only win this week, they will win week 2 of the playoffs and meet in the NFC Championship game.
So Ray, I will agree with you on that. Okay. Now, what I hope happens is the Eagles are in the NFC Championship game against the Vikings, but that will not happen. Okay. But I wanted to say that because the last time we were in an NFC Championship game against the Vikings, we destroyed them. Anyway, moving on to Saturday's games with the AFC. The late game is Titans at Patriots. Excuse me. I think we both expect the Patriots to win that game.
Yes.
We will talk about it in a minute. We do not see the Patriots going super far this year because they have this game, but I think it's safe to say that Tom Brady and the Patriots will probably take on the Titans pretty well. Although they did just lose to Miami, but I actually think that works in their favor. That was their wake-up game. You know what I mean? Unfortunately, when they lost the Super Bowl to you, that was their wake-up game. They picked the wrong game, an undefeated season. I've never seen Bill Belichick so upset in my life. That was the most upset he's ever been.
Yeah, but they wanted that very, very badly. Especially though, it's old Belichick especially wants to beat the Giants because that's where he cut his teeth. That's where he was defensive coordinator under Bill Parcells. Yeah. So he always likes. It's a little extra special for him to beat the Giants, and the fact that he couldn't.
But he never has. Yeah, he never has.
At least the Super Bowl.
Yeah. And the Eagles just love throwing that in there. Sorry.
Yes, but also. But I think that you got to remember Mike Vrabel, of course, former player for Bill Belichick for many years. I think was also part of the Patriots coaching staff after he retired for a little bit. Is the Titans coach? Yes, New England is the more talented team at every position. I think this will be a close first. Like most of New England's games this year, I think it'll be a close first half.
Yeah.
But I think New England probably has like a 3-point lead at the half, and they come out and they just steamroll Tennessee in the second half. And so I will say the final there is New England 34, Tennessee 20. I think the Patriots win by 2 touchdowns, but most of that comes in the second half.
Keeping in mind too, this is a late game in New England. It's going to be cold.
It's very cold.
That's not going to work for Tennessee in their favor. So I mean, it's just there's too much there stacked up against the Titans. Like when I make predictions, it's always like, and I make predictions because I feel like we should. Like I think we have to put ourselves in line like that. But like I always like the underdog aspect, and the other aspect is it's a mental thing. Like if they can overcome the challenges that we're talking about, the weather, the experience. Yes. The coaching,
not to mention, there's the edge there that Ryan Tannehill, former Dolphins quarterback, who has been often beat by the Patriots in his career, took over in Tennessee in week 7. I believe it was week 7. Went 7-3 as the starter to get them into the playoffs. Basically having a resurgent year. He took a chance on himself, saying, "Look, I'll go to Tennessee. I'll be the backup. I'm also going to bet that Marcus Mariota isn't as good as people think." And basically, took over there and showed that he can still play. Derrick Henry, also leading rusher in the NFL in the Titans' backyard. Like he's in the Titans' backfield. He could, if the Titans are smart, they'd give the big man the rock a lot.
Yeah.
That could a time of possession game, a game where the running game wears down the Patriots' defense. It's not impossible. Like Lee said, the Dolphins beat the Patriots last week. It's not impossible for the Titans to win this game, but we're going to go with the favorite here. Like I said, Patriots 34-20, but it's not impossible for an upset to happen.
So, Ray, you just said something really funny, and I'm looking this up right now, but you said that, Ryan Tannehill, when he was on the Dolphins, didn't have a lot of luck against the Patriots. Well, here's the thing. Not a lot of teams have had a lot of luck against the Patriots in Miami, but true. I'm looking at right now, in the Brady era, okay, I wanted to see this. Maybe I'm wrong. Like, in the Brady era, which is what, 2000? Right?
Yeah, so 2001, yeah.
So 2001, okay, this is funny. So October 7th in 2001, the Dolphins, I don't know who wins here. It just says win-loss, result, win-loss. That doesn't help me at all. It just says visitor, home, result. Okay, okay, so let's just go back to this. So since 2001, all right, the Dolphins destroyed New England. Looks like that might have been Brady's first game against them. Then right. This is the Patriots' record. I don't even know why there's a win or loss thing here. That doesn't make any sense. I guess this is probably okay. It's the Patriots. I got it. Sorry, I had to read this. So this is the record with Tom Brady all time. I'm just gonna do wins and losses. Win, loss, win, loss, win, loss, win, loss, win, loss. Then ready? Win, win,
yeah.
loss, win, loss, and then it's win, loss. So he's been splitting with them actually for a while. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I was going to say Miami's the one team within the division that seems to give him a little bit of trouble sometimes.
Yeah, well,
Tannehill has beaten him a couple of times. But
well,
typically,
he's getting older.
Well, yeah, typically, I mean, look, the upset can happen, folks. But again, New England's heavily favored for a reason.
It's unlikely. Yeah.
Yeah. The one game which is really kind of a pick'em is the last game, our last game, first game of the weekend. 4:35 p.m. Eastern Time, 1:35 out here. I'll be having a nice lunch while watching this game. Buffalo at Houston. Buffalo's had the 5 seed locked up for a couple of weeks now. Houston's had the division locked up for a couple of weeks now. Both teams rested their starters last week. Houston, I believe, is getting J.J. Watt back just in time for this playoff game.
Yeah.
So I believe he's coming back. So that's a big deal for them. Buffalo, I think this game comes down to the play of one player, and it comes down to Josh Allen.
Yeah, I agree.
If Josh Allen plays a good game for the Bills and they can put some points up, I actually think the Bills can win this because I think the Bills have the better defense. Otherwise, I think Houston's going to pull this out. Deshaun Watson is obviously a stellar player. DeAndre Hopkins, Will Fuller the fifth. They've got some amazing talent. Carlos Hyde is having the best year of his career out of the backfield. But defense wins championships. Buffalo has a better defense. Even with J.J. Watt coming back, you have no idea what condition he's going to be in. Even if he's there just for emotional purposes and only plays 10 snaps, it might be more of a boost to their morale more than anything. Houston just doesn't impress me overall. But, again, the X factor is Josh Allen is a very up and down quarterback. Some games he's looked amazing, both as a scrambler and as a thrower. And then other game, I mean, he looked great on Thanksgiving against Dallas, but that's neither here nor there. But I mean, he's you don't know what you're going to get with him, and if he has a bad day, Houston could. I mean, Houston's defense isn't anything to sleep on either. I mean, Houston, they've forced a lot of pick sixes this year. They forced a lot of turnovers, and if Josh Allen decides to get a little wild, Houston could easily run away with this one.
Yeah, I'm with you on this. I'm picking the Bills. I'm picking the Bills to win this one. I just like the way they've been playing football this year. Like I said, resurgence might be the word I want to look for, but they just seem to be a pretty steady team this year. There's nothing against the Texans. I just think the Bills are going to win this one, which means that the Patriots and the Bills will move on in the AFC, where they would probably both lose.
Yeah, I mean, the Bills, I'm calling it Bills 20, Texans 17. Very close game. It's going to be a one-possession game.
It should be.
Buffalo will go on to Baltimore, where they will get destroyed. And then New England will go on to Kansas City, which, much like New Orleans, has a chip on their shoulder, has something to prove.
Yeah.
New England going on the road in the playoffs typically struggles a bit more than when they're at home. I think that very much after losing the game last year, basically because of the coin toss.
Yes.
Again, in overtime in the AFC Championship, I think Kansas City is going to come out. They're going to come out on fire. Again, they have something to prove. They, too, are playing their best ball at the right time.
Yes.
I think that... and now they have they have more experience. Mahomes is one of these guys. He's coming into his own. Brady, not to be underestimated, but at the tail end of his career... I think the Chiefs win. I think it's Chiefs versus Baltimore, and then at that point, honestly, I think it's a pick 'em. But I would go with the Ravens just because of home field advantage.
Yeah, I have a feeling. So just to comment on that, with the Chiefs and Patriots, it's very much one of those like this is the hump you have to get over if you want to win the Super Bowl for the Chiefs. I really believe that. When it comes to the Bills, Ravens are just so strong. I think the AFC Championship game is going to largely come down to injuries and to see who's healthy and who's not. That's that's the AFC Championship game we want, right?
Baltimore versus Kansas City. Yes.
Yeah, like there are several NFC Championship matchups I'd love to see. There's only one AFC Championship I want to see, and it's Kansas City versus the Ravens this year.
Yeah.
So just for those of you who know, so the Patriots finally don't have an easy route to the Super Bowl this year. And the other thing too is the Patriots have never been to the Super Bowl when they play in a wild card game, and their record is 3-3. Now, with that said, you never count that team out. That's the kiss of death.
Right.
But we'll see. I will say this: if the Patriots can somehow, the Patriots are the only team we can talk about this with. But if the Patriots somehow do get to the Super Bowl, they've earned it, and Tom Brady and Belichick have done their magic once again.
And they're calling this their revenge tour because they know they're going to probably have to go through Kansas City and Baltimore, two of the four teams they lost to in the regular season.
They already had their revenge tour a few years ago against Atlanta, so get a new name, get a new nickname. All right, this geriatric tour probably is a better name for it, but sometimes they win.
Farewell tour.
Yeah. I can see them in the locker room. The Nationals just won the World Series, and they're old. But here's the deal. At the end of the day, Ray and I have to say this, and I'm gonna preface this right now with this. If you could hear some organs playing in the background, football gods, if you can hear us, please, football gods, don't let any officiating screw these teams in the playoffs.
Oh goodness!
Please, football gods, let them play. Please do not let a game be decided on a non-call or a call that makes absolutely no sense. Football gods, we have struggled through this season together of horrendous officiating with all but 1 week having a complaint. We beg of you, football gods, please let football be played and strike the official down that might make the bad call.
Yep.
In Pigskin's name, the Duke.
Amen.
Amen.
Yes. That's obviously the X factor.
Please, football gods. Please. I'm sorry, Ray.
That's the ultimate X factor, of course, is the referees. I mean, even this last week with the Seahawks and the Niners,
please.
There was a couple of missed calls. And there was and of course, just to quickly mention again, just that game, the bonehead, the fact that now this is twice now that Pete Carroll didn't know to just give Marshawn Lynch the ball at the 1 yard line.
That's incredible.
Delay of game. That's not on the referees, folks. That's Pete Carroll.
It's incredible. Again, for those of you who didn't watch, Seahawks playing the Niners, they had the ball on the inches in goal. Yeah. And, it was like this heroic moment, Marshawn Lynch coming to the game. I'm like, oh, man, there's going to be like a redemption here. And then the flags fly. Delay of game, Seahawks, 5-yard penalty. Lynch is out of the game.
Trott's back out of the game.
Yeah, it was just like, you got to be kidding me with that. This is I've never understood. And again, I'm an Eagles fan, so I had this with Andy Reid when he was here. I have never understood how a team can have such poor clock management at the end of a game. Well,
especially
that
with such a veteran quarterback too.
It's amazing to me.
Yeah.
I don't know how that happens at this level where someone's just not paying attention. Yeah, hire someone if you have to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's ridiculous. But yeah, that's it. That's the football playoffs first week, wild card weekend. It should be good. It'll be an interesting week, and then as we head into January and then the Super Bowl, we'll move on to probably more hockey and basketball. But this is the perfect time to transition that it's into the geek segment of our podcast. I'm trying to think of a good transition, but I can't. So here's what we're going to talk about today in the geek segment. We're going to talk about The Mandalorian as a series. So if you have not watched it or you have not seen the last few episodes, this is your spoiler alert right now. Although I think we've kind of commutatively said that there's you don't get too many spoiler alerts on Mandalorian. You watch it or you don't. Ray, I think this might have been the greatest season of television I've ever seen of a existing property. I am having a hard time thinking of another series that every episode was beautifully done. Now, with that said, benefit of the doubt for The Mandalorian, it's only 8 episodes.
Right.
There's some TV shows that had 24 episodes, so I'm not trying to rock another show. But every episode was brilliant. The ending was brilliant. I give the writers credit for answering a lot of the questions that were kind of looming over season 1 so that you didn't have to take them to season 2. Obviously the unmasking of the Mandalorian, it is Pedro Pascal underneath.
Yes.
Thank
you, Jon Favreau, for being our savior of Star Wars.
He really is. I mean, every single episode we said this had a callback to the original films in some form or another.
Yep.
The show, I always said, is 25% self-aware. They have a little bit of a Deadpool aspect to it, which we saw in the last episode with the 2 stormtroopers.
Oh my God, the 2 stormtroopers were amazing.
Unbelievable.
Was it Jason Sudeikis? I think right. It was one of them, and he punches.
Baby what are we doing here? What are we even doing here? I love it. It was so brilliant.
And then they start doing target practice, and they miss every single shot while killing time. It's just so smartly written, and again, like you said, self-aware. It's just beautifully done.
Yeah, I cannot think right now of a better season of television than that show. And if you can, please let us know. But The Mandalorian is, in terms of an 8-series arc, it was brilliant. I'm pretty high on it right now, but I really thought about this before I said it. I can't think of another show that I enjoyed more than that. It was brilliantly done.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to look back. There are definitely, I think, singular episodes of shows
but not
that have gotten me
season.
Higher. But I think, like you said, it's true. I've been flying high, really, for the entire season.
Yeah.
And again, and like you said, 8 episodes definitely, and it is also very fresh. 8 episodes gives them a lot more leeway. There's a lot more shows out there. I'm thinking of Doctor Who and some of the CW shows that obviously have longer seasons. So obviously it's easier to fall into a lull at certain points. But
maybe this is a precedent. Maybe this is a precedent that should be set here. It's only 8 episodes, and it was all written out ahead of time, and exactly what we thought happened. The first 2 episodes kind of worked together, and the last 2 episodes kind of worked together, and then the ones 3, 4, 5, and 6 kind of were standalone episodes.
Fleshed out the universe, introduced characters who, of course, would play a part.
So we did this off the air the other day. I want to see if we can do it again. But as I said, every episode of the show, all 8, had a callback to the original movies, okay, in some form or another. And we're going to try and do it again real quick if you want to try this, Ray. So obviously, so The Mandalorian itself is a callback to Boba Fett, which we'll get into in a minute in terms of just the Mandalorian armor. Right. So if we go all the way back to episode 1, right, I'm trying to think what happened in that. We have the carbonite, frozen carbonite, right inside of his ship. Okay,
right.
So that was episode 1. Episode 2. Again, I'm going through these in my head. I don't know if you have an episode list right there. He goes to the desert. You have the Jawas, right? You have the disintegration.
Jawas, the sand crawler.
All right. Yeah. So, okay, if you go to episode 3, which is the ATST episode.
No, episode 4 was the ATST.
Oh, yeah, you're right. So
episode
4 had an ATST, right? Yeah.
Yeah, episode 3 is where he's taking the baby back from the Empire.
Well, you have stormtroopers in that to begin with, right?
Right. Yeah.
And then, then the Mandalorian siege, which was unbelievable, like an unbelievable siege when the Mandalorians came out. Which again, I think that's a callback to the original film. There's probably more in that one. We should watch. I'm going to watch this again soon.
Yeah.
As we said, 4 was the ATST in the village. Episode 5 was the prison ship episode, correct?
Episode 5 is the one on Tatooine with the.
That's right, with the bounty hunter,
the sniper.
So obviously, Tatooine itself, they went to they went to the Mos Eisley Cantina, like the actual Mos Eisley Cantina in that film. Yeah, there were actually pit droids in that, which is a throwback to the prequel
episode
trilogy.
1. Yeah, episode 1. Yeah.
Yeah. So that one had a ton of stuff in it. Not to mention, I think that Boba Fett was at the end of that episode, but nobody knows about it yet. That's one of the unanswered questions from the season.
Right.
Is that Boba Fett's leg at the end of the episode? Then you get to the prison one where there's stormtroopers on there, but obviously there's so much more. I mean, I forgot even in the first episode there's a thermal detonator. I mean, there's a lot of
so much. I mean, the fact in the first episode, you have an IG unit, like obviously IG-11 is different than IG-88, but the fact that you have bounty hunter droids is...
Are they different? I mean, a little bit different. We'll get back to the IG unit in a minute. So,
yes.
So the prison one had X-Wings in it. Right, so that was a pretty massive deal. Okay,
yeah,
that was episode 6. I said
that was episode 6.
Right, episode 7 when they go back to deliver Yoda. There was a callback in that. I'm trying to think of it now.
Well, they're attacked by Minox at the fire.
That's right. Right. So that happens. There's the speeder bikes are there with the stormtroopers as they chase down the Ugnaught Queel. Excuse me. There's a TIE fighter in that. I mean, and there's Death Troopers, which is a callback to Rogue One.
Yeah.
All right, which is the same time period. And then the final episode, which was awesome. Obviously, you have IG-88. I'm sorry, IG-88. You have IG-11 sacrificing himself for the group, which was like one of the greatest scenes in the show. I mean, I always love it when you can feel something for a droid.
Yeah. No,
I always found that amazing. Yeah.
I mean,
and
IG-11, possibly because also it was the episode directed by Taika Waititi, who, of course, also voiced IG-11, was really the linchpin of that last episode. I mean,
it was good.
He administered the Bacta to save the Mandalorian after the firefight. Also, by the way, Giancarlo Esposito, who plays Moff Gideon, declaring the E-Web heavy repeating blaster was just one of
that's great.
Just one of those moments that I absolutely loved in that episode. This series did such a good job overall of making things seem that were once that sometimes could be jokes or easily poo-pooed on in the Star Wars universe. Again, a threat. The E-Web heavy repeating blaster. Him talking about that gun specifically, that portable turret, cutting down Gina Carano's, Kara's. Drop troopers as they were dropping into battle. Like that's like immediately like this is not a gun to be messed with. And Moff Gideon is a bad mofo.
Yeah. Well, we'll get into him in a minute too, because there's a massive throwback at the end of that episode. Another thing that happened in that episode is we dive deeper into the Mandalorian's background, and we find out that the bounty hunters, the Mandalorians that saved him were from Boba Fett's clan. Right? Yeah. And they all look like Boba Fett. Now this question is that Boba Fett that saved him? I heard someone say, that might be a woman that saved him. Like, nobody knows. That's one of the cool questions that they haven't answered.
Right.
And then, obviously, we saw battle droids from the original series in that. They did a really good job of meshing these two time periods together. And then, obviously, the big kind of reveal at the end of the episode is that Moff Gideon has the black saber. He has the Darksaber, which has an amazing history with the first Mandalorian Jedi and the last.
I was going to say the only Mandalorian Jedi.
Yeah. And then Darth Maul had that saber for a while before it was kind of lost on Mandalore, which clearly Moff Gideon got it during the Siege of Mandalore. So there's going to be a lot more, but it is the Darksaber too. Like it is a very unique shape. So that is exactly what it is.
It's the only lightsaber that has a katana shape and is the only one that emits black light with a white outline.
Yeah, which is beautiful if you've never seen it. It's been in several video games. A black saber has been in several video games. Not that one, but you can get that in Force Unleashed.
And the dark saber, of course, is introduced in the Clone Wars cartoon series, which a lot of folks, at least I agree with, believe that this is also kind of in a way setting up the new, what will end up being the true last season of that show that's going to debut on Disney Plus next month. As Clone Wars Season 7 sets up, that's probably where we're going to get a lot of Moff Gideon's background, where he, how he acquires the Darksaber, because he who holds the Darksaber is basically the leader of the Mandalorians. They're basically in the de facto leader. That's why it's a big deal when Darth Maul gets it, and that's why once he dies again, it gets passed around a bit. But how he acquires that, it has huge implications in Star Wars lore. And again, also very smart writing by Jon Favreau, who, of course, is also very involved heavily with Clone Wars.
Yes. And it is great to see them finally merging Clone Wars into the TV show. Yeah. I mean, they did a little bit at the end of Solo with Darth Maul being alive, which if you watch Clone Wars, you knew he was alive. But if you didn't, you didn't know that. But they're not afraid to mesh those two canons together. Which they hadn't done for a long time. They weren't been doing it. So Mandalorian season 1, just brilliant. I'm gonna watch it again because it's that good. Much more satisfying than The Rise of Skywalker, which was satisfying, right?
No, it was good. It was all right, good, to good. But like The Mandalorian was great.
Yeah, well, I think in a few months we'll talk about The Rise of Skywalker again. I want to give it some time to marinate here, Like I said, that trilogy was just ill prepared. I'll put it that way.
Rise of Skywalker did what it needed to do. It brought everything to it. Got us across the finish line. It brought the Skywalker saga to an end.
I heard just real quick. I heard this kind of great review that The Rise of Skywalker, it couldn't have been a standalone film, but it feels like a standalone film when you think about when it retcons in the other two. But anyway, Mandalorian. Series 1, phenomenal. I also want to turn here to a show before we get into our new ending to today's show. We for going mashup for something new today. I did see season 1 of The Witcher on Netflix. I know Ray has not had a chance to see it yet, which is always fun. When one of us doesn't see the show, it's great because we can ask questions. But really, really enjoyed season 1 of The Witcher. And I'll tell you why. One is that compelling characters, obviously very well done. Henry Cavill is The Witcher, Geralt of Rivia. And this is going to be a spoiler-free because I don't want to ruin it for anybody. But they did some really risky decisions in how they prepared this season in terms of how it flows. And they pulled it off, and I really, really respect that. But when a show takes a challenge. Now, doing something like The Mandalorian is a challenge to begin with because of the canon. This is technically, I know it's a book series and a video game, but this is technically a new TV. It's never been on film before. And I'm telling you, Ray, like they did something without giving it away. They took a heavy risk on how they filmed this and how they prepared it, and it really paid off. The other thing is that it's just unapologetic, and it's like, if you don't get magic and you don't get fantasy, this is not the show for you. They don't take any time to explain anything. And I love that. It's like when magic is used in the show, they don't go, well, you see, he can use magic because of this. And they don't even explain really what a Witcher is in the show. Right. Like, they just kind of explain
for money. That's all you need to know.
Yeah, but exactly. That's how the show prepares itself. And because it would have been an insult to a lot of people if they didn't. And what they did is they didn't rely on that supernatural stuff to tell the story. The story tells the story. All right. And there's a few characters in particular in the show that are one's called Yennefer that really well done. And again, you don't know who's good, who's bad. It's good. The other thing about it too is that it very much felt like, and I don't know how to explain this. I'm curious if you get a chance to watch it, how you feel, but it very much felt like a game. Like I was watching a game being played, right? Now, I'm not talking like hours of watching someone play on their Xbox, but I'm saying the story just flowed like a game. Like I remember in the first episode, he's kind of walking through the town. You hear like the side conversations as he's walking by people. Yeah. You know what I mean? Which is very, very game-ish. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But it was great. Henry Cavill, here's the thing. Geralt of Rivia does not speak much, and he does a really good job with the character acting wise, if you know what I mean. It's like a Batman character where this one looks like it would be simple to act, but he really does a great job, and he really acts with his face quite a bit. There's quite a lot of emotion through this character. So I would say to you, Ray, this on Netflix. You should definitely watch it. It's a quick thing. It's not. I think it's only 8 to 10 episodes. It's not a ton. Not as good as The Mandalorian, but it's also not on Disney Plus. And it is worth seeing. It was very good. It was very, very good. Again, it's spoiler free. I don't want to give away anything. Maybe after you see it, we'll do a spoiler cast.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, it was tough because it came out. I was already back east for the holiday.
Yeah,
I have a chance to.
No, you got time now. Yeah,
my family, as I love them, they don't exactly have the best internet connection when it comes for streaming and whatnot.
Then you should come here, Ray, to Philadelphia.
Yeah, I know.
We have great internet in Philadelphia.
I know. Well, actually, you don't, but
we really, really do. Just not up in my office. But I fixed that last week.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Witcher.
Yeah, The Witcher. Watch Witcher.
I didn't think we could have watched it together, but
no. There's no way we could have watched the whole thing. Anyway,
not the whole thing, but the first couple episodes. Anyway,
you no doubt have heard that song by now. Toss a coin to your Witcher, oh Valley of Plenty. Like that's actually a really cool scene when that happens.
I honestly just want to watch it for that, just because similar to Baby Yoda, it's one of those things where you just want to know where the frickin' meme comes from at this point.
There's a guy named Jaskier who's clearly the comic relief in that, but it plays it well. You check it out. Please check it out. Okay, give me your word that you'll watch it. Give me your word. Give me your word.
I will watch it.
Okay.
At some point.
Well, there's been times you said that. Okay.
I know.
All right, we now move on to the new section. We're going to do something different, kind of as we start a new decade. In a new year, we're going to move on from the mashup for a week or two here. And we're going to do, because in honor of the NFL playoffs, we are going to be doing a bracket of the top geek films of 2019. Okay, and this works just like football. There are 4 buys, actually, not exactly football. The top 4 films have a bye week, and then we're putting the other films together. We're going to go through the whole thing right now. Okay, I will name the movies first, okay? And then we'll go into the matchups. Okay, so these are your top films, geek films, of 2019. Please feel free, if you're watching this or listening to this, to comment if we missed something. I will tell you what did not make the list and why, okay? So the first rule was this. No Disney animation film or Disney film of that nature made this list, okay? It's not that they don't kind of count in geekdom. They kind of do, but it just becomes a really weird matchup when you start putting, like if you put Aladdin in there or like Frozen 2 versus
Joker,
it's weird. It just gets a little weird, you know what I mean? So they're not in here. And then I also removed any movie that just doesn't fit the geek category. Okay, and there weren't many, but there were a few. All right, so these are your top 12. Okay, number 1, and this is by box office revenue. This is how they're ranked. I thought that was a fair ranking point. It's kind of like getting points. Number 1 is Avengers Endgame, so they get a bye week. Number 2 is Spider-Man Far From Home, bye week. Captain Marvel was number 3, with I think that surprised a lot of people. Gets a bye week. And number 4, the last bye, goes to Joker.
Wow, okay. So 3 Marvel, 1 DC.
Yeah, well, that's always like that. Okay, then moving down the list. The next is Star Wars 9. That's number 5. Detective Pikachu is number 6. Oh. Okay, now this is where it gets a little weird. Alita Battle Angel was around this point, but I have removed it from this contest because both Ray and I haven't seen it. Okay, I want to see it, but also it was just you'll see why when I keep going down the list. Okay, so number 7 becomes Shazam. There's your next DC movie, right? Then Once Upon a Time in Hollywood made the list because we've spoken about this on the show, and I think that Tarantino fits into the geekdom world, in my opinion, okay? Because his films are a fantasy. All right. After that is John Wick 3, and then this is the bottom feeders. Then it's Terminator Dark Fate, Ooh. Men in Black International, Ugh. And coming in to round the bottom of the wildcard teams, your 8-8 champion is X-Men Dark Phoenix.
Oh,
I know, right? It makes round 1 really easy. So here's round 1, Ray. Like again, these are really easy. Okay, the round 1 matchups, and we're just going to go through them one at a time. Star Wars 9 versus X-Men Dark Phoenix.
Star Wars.
Star Wars wins in a landslide victory.
Yeah.
X-Men didn't even score any points in the game.
Yeah, it's just shut out.
In fact, a lot of people in the X-Men didn't even show up, just like in the movie. All right. So Star Wars 9 advances. Next up, Detective Pikachu versus Men in Black International.
Detective Pikachu.
Hands
easily.
down.
Thundershock. It's over.
Yeah. Men in Black missed a field goal in that game. All right? They didn't get any points either. All right? But at least they got a chance to score. All right?
They got close.
Everybody showed up in that game except Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones. So Detective Pikachu wins. Next one. Shazam versus Terminator Dark Fate.
Shazam.
Right?
Even though I wasn't the biggest fan of Shazam, it's still much better than Terminator Dark Fate.
Yeah. Now this is one where Terminator Dark Fate, they got 3 points on the board. Okay, yeah, it wasn't.
They scored. Shazam was goofing off. They took the foot off the gas at the end of the game.
Yeah, but Shazam was way a better movie. Okay, now the last one here is a little hard. Okay, It's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood versus John Wick 3.
That is a hard one.
But Once Upon a Time in Hollywood wins it, in my opinion. Excuse me. I've seen both. They're both great action. Well, not both. John Wick's a great action film, but Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, it's Tarantino. It's an original film. It was great. It had a surprise ending. I enjoyed that better. So for me, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood advances in a very close game. It was a one-score game.
I was gonna say that's a tough one for me because. Well, to be fair, I haven't seen either. I've only seen the first John Wick. I need to play. I want to see John Wick 2 before I see John Wick 3.
Yeah.
And I don't want to sit for 3 hours before I watch Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Well, I'll tell you this: Once Upon a Time in Hollywood has a Inglourious Bastards level ending. I will tell you that. It was really good. It was really good Tarantino. If you like Tarantino, we talked about this. If you like Tarantino, you'll love this movie.
I do, and that's the thing. But I also really like the first John Wick.
Yeah, this is the third one. That's the other thing too. If this was John Wick 1, that probably would win this battle. But this is John Wick 3. We've done it 3 times.
So,
Great Parabellum was a good film.
You're saying because of the sequels, it's become a bit derivative.
I'm saying it was a close game. But Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
All right, I will, because I haven't seen either film. I will defer to you on this one.
Okay, smart decision. I wanted to at
least put up a fight.
Well, here's the thing. You'll see here why this doesn't matter in a minute. Okay, so the winners of the wild card weekend are Star Wars 9, Detective Pikachu, Shazam, and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Now, when you get to this next weekend, this is where it gets really.
Because of the bye week. So Once Upon a Time now plays Avengers.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Avengers.
So Endgame wins. This is why I said it doesn't matter who won that because they're not. It's like we said with some of these other games. It doesn't matter who wins in the AFC, or the NFC, right? So Endgame versus Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. But there's actually a close matchup for me, but Endgame wins. Like it was one of those things like. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood stood. You said this like the Patriots. They hang around the first half, but at the end of the day, the Endgame payoff at the end of the game is too large to overcome. Much bigger than the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood payoff. Also, the rewatchability is off the charts. So Endgame advances to the whatever FC championship. Okay. And then the next one. Now this one's hard too. Okay. Spider-Man: Far From Home versus Shazam.
Spider-Man.
Yeah, I picked Spider-Man too, but it was closer than it should have been. If you know what I'm trying to say.
Not for me. For me, Spider-Man was so much more fun.
I know. It was, but I like Shazam quite a bit. But yes, Spider-Man: Far From Home advances as well as Marvel trumps DC in that one. Okay, the next one again. I'm interested. I think you and I are going to be the same with this. Captain Marvel versus Detective Pikachu.
See, I'll say this. It's a shame because this is a matchup where. Detective Pikachu kind of gets robbed because of this matchup. That's just a shame because it's not a bad. Detective Pikachu was actually a really fun movie, but oh god, yeah, this is an overtime game. Captain Marvel wins in overtime.
Oh no, I've got Pikachu winning this one.
Really? Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I'll tell you why. I like Captain Marvel. But there's a few things here. A lot of this comes down to me. Like, there's more than one factor for me. Like, a factor for me is also originality. Okay?
Right.
And Detective Pikachu had no right being as good as it did, and it was phenomenal.
True.
And I've watched that more times than Captain Marvel. Right? Not to mention, like, the risk that they took on making. That's the first live-action Pokemon movie, and they nailed it.
That's very true.
Right? And Deadpool's in it.
That's also true.
As a sneak performance, which is
All
also
right.
MCU. No, so Captain Marvel was good. Like, again, keep in mind, this is the playoffs. They're mostly good movies at this point. Captain Marvel was good, but it didn't fulfill me the same way that Detective Pikachu did, and it's got nothing to do with the cast. I'm just going to get that out there just in case anybody has a problem with that.
You've convinced me. I will go with you along with Detective Pikachu.
Yeah, this is the upset matchup. That was the upset matchup. Okay, but yeah, Captain Marvel. Again, how do I say this? I didn't feel like it was a step back for the MCU, but it was very much like it was like an origin film in the middle of nowhere. Like they had to do,
and you kind of knew where it had to end because of that, because of where it was and all that. So there was a bit of also it loses points for the cheap way that Sam Jackson loses his eye.
Yeah, with the flirkin. So Pikachu advances for both of us. So the final matchup, again, this is one of those that's easy, but it was a good game. Joker versus Star Wars 9. Joker wins that easily wins that. But Star Wars did a good job in the game. Those fans went home feeling, hey, we did our team proud. Okay, so that brings us to the championship games, the conference championship games. Okay, and now it gets really hard. Okay, now it gets really hard. You got it's hard only in the sense you don't want to pick one. It's Endgame versus Spider-Man.
It's Endgame versus Spider-Man.
Yeah. Oh, unless you... that's just how I see them. You'll see.
Oh, how you see them? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then obviously, Endgame wins easily.
Yeah. Well, it would have... Endgame wins easily against 2 of these 3 matchups. So Endgame defeats Spider-Man, right? Yeah. I had to get them out of the way. Yeah. All right. So they move on to the championship game, which they were going to do no matter what. Mm-hmm. All right. And then it comes down to Pikachu versus Joker, which again is an easy matchup if you think about it.
Yeah, I mean, look, Joker's the only the last time I saw a movie multiple times in theater was The Dark Knight.
I didn't know you saw Joker twice. You saw Joker twice? I didn't know that.
But I saw Joker twice in theater.
Oh wow. Yeah. It must have touched you.
Yeah, well, yeah.
So I mean, Joker wins this matchup. Yeah.
Maybe I relate to it a bit too much.
I can say that it's true because I know you.
Yes.
You should all be scared, right? What do you get when a Los Angeles, New Jersey loner matches up against Pikachu? Yeah. So no, stop. That's terrifying. Yeah. Okay. Maybe you do relate to it too much. All right. So Joker advances. So now it becomes down to this: the championship game in the 2019 movie playoff bracket is Endgame versus Joker. Now, a lot of people, you can go both ways on this one. I have my pick. My pick is in. And I think we're going to have the same pick. Right? We'll say it on 3 seconds, right?
In terms, I mean, we're going to say it at the same time?
I'll count down 3. It'll be 3, 2, 1. And then on the 0, we say it. Ready? Okay? Yeah. What was that movie from? Where they counting down, they can't figure out how to do it. Anyway, okay? 3, 2, 1. Joker. Okay, good. I just want to make sure. Yes. Joker is the film of the year. Endgame, it was wonderful, and it was complete fan service, and it was exactly the ending we needed.
It paid everything off.
Joker was so damn original in the way that they did that.
It was amazingly shot. It was amazingly acted. It's a true cinema masterpiece, really. Like, if you're a fan of film, Joker's an amazing movie. Like, I mean, Endgame is the ultimate geek payoff.
It is.
Joker is possibly the ultimate geek film.
I actually, I don't hate to do this, but is this not the Patriots-Giants Super Bowl? That the team with all the wins, the undefeated team, comes up against the DC Giants, and the Giants win. And again, they don't care because they all made billions of dollars. But no, look, here's the thing: if when you look at this again, now I'm not talking about sports now, but I'm talking about this from a cinematic point of view, right? Yeah. If you only saw one of these 2 movies with no background on anything, like no Batman background, no Marvel background. The truth is this: Joker, you'd be like, that was crazy, and Endgame, you'd say, I have no idea what's happening right now.
Right, and Endgame requires you to have seen all the movies leading up to it. Joker,
including Thor 2.
Yeah,
The Dark World.
Yeah, I know. Joker is just a great film.
It's unbelievable. It doesn't need a sequel.
Yes, we've said that 100 times. There. Please don't no sequel.
They're gonna make a sequel. They're gonna do it. Joker is the 2019 World Geeks Who Like Sports film champion. Joker, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, that was fun. Again, some of these were harder than the other. But again, Detective Pikachu had a strong showing. Rookie of the Year right there.
Yeah, Detective Pikachu did. Detective Pikachu was, like you said it perfectly. It was better than it should have been.
Yeah,
like, better than
no
it
right
deserved
being
to be.
that good.
Yeah, no right being that good. Like,
and I've seen it multiple times, and I would have without my children. It is good. Again, a movie that's a little bit self-aware.
Yeah.
You know, like I love that scene where Pikachu's walking the guy's off. He's like, "Oh wow, Flareon!" It's just like, you know, like there's some cool things in that movie. And like, come on, Psyduck's super cute. So again, I do want to say this to our listeners: if you saw Alita: Battle Angel, which most of you probably didn't, and you think that deserved to be in this game, let us know how far it should have gone. And I'm saying that because I could see how that could be on the list, but we talked about Tarantino.
I mean, it's a geek property. It's
just
that.
But
neither of us saw it. Like,
yeah, and only 12 teams can make the list here. So sorry, okay?
Yeah,
they're
the Dallas Cowboys, right? They're the team that should have been in, but they didn't get in because they're the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, sorry. So it is what it is, okay?
Yep.
But yeah, Joker is our film of the year. The Geeks Who Like Sports film of the year is Joker.
Yes.
Which I'm saying this actually cool. I think it's really cool in a year that Endgame came out that's not the best film for us. I think that's really cool. It also shows you, because we both loved Endgame, but it shows you out there we are truly in the early years of the golden age of geekdom. Like this is only getting better, right? Like so. Like, the fact that The Witcher is out and, like, the Lord of the Rings series still hasn't come out yet, like, this is only going to get bigger and better. So if you love geekdom, it is our time. The other thing, too, is that, like, with The Witcher, like I didn't say this before, The Witcher gave the middle finger to Game of Thrones at least 4 or 5 times in that show. I guarantee it. Like, they'll never say that, but there's things that happen in the show. I'm like, wow, that was way better done than, you know, Game of Thrones ended, all right? Because, and again, I'm only just so you know out there, when I rip Game of Thrones, I'm only talking about the last season of Game of Thrones. Every other season I'm okay with, except for the last, which was the laziest crap I've ever seen. I'm not going to get into it. Hey, Joker is the winner, and again, here's the other thing: you get down to a classic DC versus Marvel matchup in the final there.
Yeah.
Right. So maybe this is something for DC that it's coming back, and DC won. DC won, which is really surprising when you think about how critical we've been of DC in the past. So, Joker is your film of the year. Maybe next week, if Ray is up to it, the master of gaming himself, the maestro of gaming, the man who beats a game a week,
yes,
and that's not enough for him, may do a gaming bracket next week. So let us know what games you want to see on that.
Yes, definitely. Let us know with comments below. But that does it for episode number 38 here of Geeks Who Like Sports. Another good show, buddy. I think we're getting good at this. We should keep doing it. Yes, I agree.
Yeah. 38 practice
a good way to kick off the new year. Again, we will be back. Our next recording, we're recording this on January 3rd. We will record our next episode as of this moment, January 13th is the plan. Just because, we want to get back onto our regular schedule. We got thrown off a little bit with the holidays and with our being sick, but also...
But we're here for you. We still came back and did it for you. And then Ray is doing his civic duty next week. It's not by choice. We'd rather be here.
Yes, no, it's very true. I'd rather be here, especially because in LA it costs me so much more money to park at the courthouse that I lose a lot to go to jury duty.
It's different, man. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really different out here. Anyway, for Lee, I'm Ray. This has been Geeks Who Like Sports, episode number 38. As always, join the Facebook group, comment on the video, and as always on SoundCloud, iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever podcasts are heard. You can find us there. Share us with your friends. By all means, grow the group. We've had a few new additions over the holiday, which we really appreciate. That's very cool. Welcome. We hope to just keep doing more and growing bigger and getting stronger and going to have an awesome 2020. So again, thank you all for everybody who's been with us through 2019. And now you're gonna get a full year of Geeks Who Like Sports now.
Bring it.
Yes. Until next time, for Lee, I'm Ray, signing off.